All right, welcome back to Asset Coach and Tax Strategist. I'm excited for you to be here. Thank you for joining us in a new episode. If you're a subscriber, thank you so much for being back. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, add a comment. And so again, our episodes are really designed for you as a business owner, you as a high taxpayer, and understanding as an asset coach and tax strategist, how do I view certain situations? And we tend to go through my book, Economic Termites, and walking through and talking through the five major termites. The book talks about the first four, but the five major termites are taxes, inflation, time, laws and regulations, meaning our politicians, and debt. And debt's not in the book. So if you want to go ahead and purchase the book, there will be a link down below. You'll be able to jump onto Amazon and go ahead and purchase the book. We're coming out with a new edition probably towards the end of the year. And we are looking to release our second published book called Farming Assets, which I'm very excited about. It's the second book in the series. The third book will be called Asset Buddy System, which is in the process of being written right now. And it's going to be a how-to. It's going to be basically a manual of how do we as an asset coach and tax strategist do planning, and how do you save money and create a tax-free income environment. But today's episode really is an interesting episode. So because we are talking about wealth, we're talking about situation of people's money, assets, thought it'd be appropriate to go on to visualcapitalist.com and visualize what $156 trillion in U.S. assets by generation. What's that look like? And so I like this Visual Capitalist website. They do a ton of just visuals of just a lot of different things. As you can see, markets, technology, money, healthcare, energy, maps, just pretty much anything you can think of. This was August 17th of this year. And so let's take a look at this by generation. Okay, so I'm going to shorten this a little bit so we can see the whole. There we go. All right. So all right, let's kind of dive into this a little bit. So over here is Gen X. Over here is Baby Boomer. Okay, Millennials, and then the silent generation here. Okay, and so we're going to go through this a little bit and walk through what this looks like for each of us. So let's at boomers. Okay, there's $78 trillion, or 50% of the assets are going to be exchanging hands from here to here within the next 10 to 20 years. Okay, that's pretty substantial. Where there's already $46 trillion here, or 30%, this essentially is going to turn into 60 to 70% of the assets are going to be sitting here in Generation X. So pretty crazy. So private businesses, $7.9 trillion. This is huge, huge. This is a large asset class that will be exchanging hands, and private business, meaning that these are people who are going to exit. Baby boomers, they're in the process of exiting, whether it's by choice, selling to a private party, to managers or employees, to family members, or due to Mother Nature, or due to Father Time, or however you want to say it, just dying. So almost $8 trillion that is going to exchange hands. So now when you look at real estate, 18.3 trillion. Now this is what's interesting, okay, is real estate has a step up in basis and when there's death of somebody, but this is substantial. Now $18 trillion. What it doesn't talk about is the income stream that this creates. Okay, that's need to be clear. Equities, mutual funds. This will be probably retirement assets. Retirement assets meaning IRAs, 403bs for those that are part of nonprofits, and then 401ks. Okay, that's probably what the majority of this $19 trillion is into. And then we have Down here, pensions. So this is government and corporate pensions, which is different than the equities and mutual funds. Okay, so you got 16 trillion, and this 16 trillion is not going to exchange hands. Okay, that's not how those work. So, and then you have other assets and durable goods. Okay, so you kind of see how the $78 trillion or 50% of that baby boomer. So really it's this here. That's pretty significant. So you got what, 19, 18, and can I just call this 8? So you have what? That's 16. So that's 25, right? So you got about $45 trillion that are going to exchange hands here pretty soon. And pretty soon, meaning within the next 20 years, 2 decades. Okay. So let's look at Generation X. Generation X, there's $46 trillion. Let's see. Also, real estate is a big one for Gen X. Private business is already $6 trillion. Other assets tends to be pretty substantial here. Pensions, which are probably dying. So you could see here, 2 trillion in pensions, 2 trillion in pensions here. Durable goods and the equities and mutual funds. So what we're looking at with farming asset coach and tax strategist at Terra Firma, what we're looking at is these. Okay, private business and real estate, and then also equities and mutual funds. Okay, so we're building strategies around those 3 things of how do we minimize taxation on these? How do we create these legacies? How do we allow these monies to flow into other generations or to charity, right? You'd rather have more control over what to do with these dollars than the government have control over them. And so that's what you got to decide in the planning process with these assets moving forward. So it's an interesting, now when you look at, let's see here, let me increase the size here some more. Assets by generation, it here breaks down based on a kind of a spreadsheet look. Then we can go into liabilities by generation. So the liabilities are going to be also something that's important to understand. Boomers have 5 trillion, which makes sense. And mortgage is 3.4 trillion. And that makes sense with real estate being as much as that is. Okay. Consumer credit, not that big of a deal, in my opinion. 500 billion in mortgages for the silent generation. Gen X, 5.2 trillion in mortgages. So we see some assets, we see some liabilities, a little spreadsheet. So it's just an interesting situation when you look at the amount of assets that are out there. Again, these assets are going to change hands. It's just a matter of, are you in a position or are you in a situation to where you can accept those assets, or are you in a situation or position where you're actually delivering these assets to somebody? So are you in control over what that process looks like, and what's that going to happen? So it's interesting. Assets for our asset coach and tax strategist, for us, this is very substantial, because the way we focus and the way we look at this stuff is that these assets are what creates tax revenue for the government. And so in order to reduce tax liabilities, you got to understand what assets to have and how to organize those assets. And sometimes those assets organization is, how do you send these assets to that next generation? And from estate planning and structuring with other assets and that sort of stuff. So that's something very important to understand and figure out, how do we do that from that perspective and that process. So anyways, hopefully this was helpful. If you liked it, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. If you want more content like this, let us know. Like I said, I like this particular website. I like some of the things they've done. I've done a couple other episodes on using their stuff. I'd love to do some more if this is something that you want. So again, if you're not a subscriber, go ahead and hit subscribe, hit the little bell so you get notified when we start uploading. We drop a new episode every week. Thanks so much. Have a great one. Bye-bye.